They say you don't know what you have until it's gone. That's a lie. I knew exactly what I had. I had a perfect life. I had Chloe. For 12 years I had the sun in my kitchen, a force of nature in a designer dress, who could charm a room into funding a children's hospital before dessert was served. I was Leo, the architect, the man who built solid, quiet things, and she was Chloe, my wife, the public relations director for the Evermore Foundation, who built empires of goodwill. We were a perfect balance, or so I thought. I was the foundation, the steady, unshakable concrete and rebar that held up her glittering, beautiful skyline. I loved being that for her. I adored the way her mind worked, the way she could weave a story so compelling you'd empty your wallet just to be a part of it. I thought I was the one person who knew the real her, not the polished public version. God, I was an idiot. A naive, trusting idiot. That's what she called me anyway. It turns out, that was the one true thing she said to me at the end. It didn't start with a bang. It started with a misplaced click, the night of the Evermore Foundation's annual Light the Way Gala. The biggest night of her year, the culmination of months of her work. I was always her support staff, her tech guy, the one who made sure the projector didn't fail. I was setting up her laptop, plugging it into the massive screen in the ballroom. She wanted a slideshow of beneficiary testimonials running during the cocktail hour. I opened what I thought was the folder. It was her email, and there it was, a subject line that stopped my heart. Our secret. My hand froze on the mouse. The ballroom was buzzing around me, waiters with trays of champagne, rich people laughing with that specific, moneyed clink, and all I could see was that line. From a Marcus Thorne, a name I knew, one of the foundation's biggest donors, an older guy, silver-haired, with a handshake that felt like it was assessing your net worth. I know I shouldn't have, but my finger, acting on some primal instinct of dread, clicked. The message was short. It was brutal. Still feeling you next to me. This professional distance at the gala tonight will be torture. Can't wait until it's over and you're really mine. The words didn't compute at first. They were just black marks on a screen. Feeling you next to me, professional distance, torture. My brain stuttered, tripping over the syllables. I felt the blood drain from my face, a cold sweat pricking at my hairline. The noise of the gala faded into a dull, roaring static. This couldn't be real. This was a joke, a misunderstanding. I found her by the podium, a vision in emerald green, laughing with the mayor. I pulled her aside, my grip probably too tight on her elbow. Chloe, your email. I saw an email from Marcus Thorne. Her smile didn't even falter. It just became a little more fixed, a little more dangerous. Leo, not now. This is a crucial moment. Who is he to you? I hissed, the words feeling foreign in my mouth. She let out a light, airy laugh that sounded like breaking glass to me. Oh, for God's sake, Leo. Marcus? He's a lonely old man with too much money and a flirtatious streak. It's part of the job. You have to manage their egos. You know how this works. She patted my arm, a condescending, dismissive little tap. Don't be so naive. Naive. The word hit me with the force of a physical blow. It was a word she'd used before, always with a teasing smile, when I didn't get some social nuance or political maneuvering. But now, it wasn't teasing. It was a weapon, and she was looking at me like I was a misbehaving child, a simpleton who had disrupted her important adult work. My certainty, my rage, it all crumbled under that one word. Naive. Was I? Was I reading too much into a wealthy donor's inappropriate comment? Was I the problem? The insecure husband seeing ghosts where there were none? The doubt she planted was a poison, and it worked instantly. I spent the rest of the gala in a daze, watching her work the room, my mind screaming one moment and rationalizing the next. It's just her job. You're overreacting. Don't be naive. But that phrase, feeling you next to me, that wasn't corporate flirting. That was intimacy. That was the morning after. I went home alone that night. She had an after party with key stakeholders. Of course she did. The house was deafeningly quiet. I sat in the dark in the living room I had designed for us, and I felt the walls of my reality bending. That's when the anger came back, hot and clean, burning away the doubt. She didn't get to call me naive. She didn't get to make me feel small for seeing the truth. I remembered her tablet, an old iPad she used for reading and sometimes for quick emails. She never logged out. She'd let me use it for looking at blueprints. It was charging on her nightstand. I picked it up like it was a live bomb. My hands were shaking. This was a violation. I knew that. But my marriage was already violated. What was one more sin? I went straight to her cloud backup. She was meticulous about backing up her phone. She always said she couldn't afford to lose a single contact. It was her lifeblood. And right now it was my crime scene. I didn't know where to start. I'm an architect. I understand structure, load-bearing walls, integrity. I don't understand digital forensics, but I knew someone who did. My younger brother, Ben, the family black sheep who became a cybersecurity analyst, the one Chloe always subtly looked down on for not having a real professional career. It was 2 a.m. He answered on the second ring, his voice groggy. "Leo, everything okay?" "Ben," I said, and my voice was a stranger's, flat and dead. "I need your help. I think Chloe is cheating on me." The line was silent for a moment. Shit. What happened? I told him about the email, about her reaction, about the word naive. "Okay," he said, and I could hear him shifting, getting out of bed, the click of a keyboard. The professional in him was taking over. "Okay, the tablet. Is it synced to her iCloud?" "I think so." "Good. Don't touch anything else on it. I'm going to walk you through accessing archived and deleted messages. People think they're gone, but they're not. Not really. It's all there, in the digital ghost town, for the next 2 hours, guided by Ben's calm, technical voice from the other end of the line. I dove into the wreckage of my marriage. It was like archaeology, digging through layers of her digital life. Deleted text messages, drafts of emails never sent, and then I found it, a calendar, not the one she shared with me, a private one, labeled with the chillingly corporate title, Network Maintenance. I opened it. My world didn't just shatter this time, it was vaporized. The calendar was color-coded, 3 colors, blue for Marcus, green for someone named Anna, red for someone named David. It was a schedule, a fucking schedule, a rotation. Tuesday lunches with Marcus at the Oakwood Hotel. Thursday yoga sessions with Anna, a name I recognized as a journalist who'd written a glowing profile of Chloe just last month. And weekends when I was away on site visits for my projects, policy briefings with David Walsh, the city councilman, the one who had just fast-tracked a zoning approval for a new Evermore community center. It wasn't an affair. It was a portfolio, a diversified investment in her own ambition. Marcus was money, Anna was press, David was influence, and I was the stable, dependable, naive husband providing the respectable cover. The pain was so immense it was silent. It was a white noise that filled every atom of my body. Then the anger came. Not a hot rage, but a cold, crystalline fury that felt like my blood had been replaced with liquid nitrogen. This was premeditated. This was strategic. My love, my devotion, our 12 years together, they were just variables in her business plan. Ben's voice was quiet in my ear. "Leo, what did you find?" "3, I whispered, the words scraping my throat raw. "She has 3 of them, on a schedule." He was silent for a long time. "Jesus Christ. I want it all, Ben," I said, my voice hardening into something new, something dangerous. "Every email, every text, every hotel receipt. I want to see it all." "Leo, man, are you sure this is going to burn it down?" I finished for him. "I want to burn it all down." For the next week I lived in a fugue state. I went to work, I nodded at meetings, I drew lines on paper, but I was a ghost. My real work happened at night, in the dark, with Ben remotely pulling data, compiling it into a dossier of my own humiliation. I read the messages. I saw the photos. A selfie of her and Marcus in a hotel mirror, her laughing in a way I hadn't seen in years. A text to Anna, discussing the angle for her next article, followed by "Can't wait to see you. My place 7?" An email to David outlining the funding proposal with a PS. That said, "I'll make it worth your while." Like last time, and the messages about me, those were the worst. The ones that truly murdered the man I used to be. To Marcus, "Don't worry about Leo. He's buried in his blueprints, completely oblivious." It's almost sweet. To Anna, "I need to be home for a dinner with the husband, keeping up appearances. You know how it is." To David, "God, another night of listening to him talk about stress load calculations. Save me." Oblivious, appearances, save me. Every word was a nail in the coffin of our life together. She wasn't just betraying me, she was mocking me. She was painting me as a boring, pathetic fool to her lovers. The foundation she built her life on was a joke to her. and I was the punchline. I didn't confront her. I couldn't. The sheer scale of the deception was so vast. I knew any direct confrontation would let her twist it, gaslight me, make it about my insecurity for snooping. No. This required a structural demolition. You don't take down a building with a hammer. You place charges at the key load-bearing points, and you bring the whole thing down at once. The key load-bearing points of Chloe's life were her reputation, her career, and the web of people she manipulated. The perfect opportunity was 3 weeks away, the Evermore Foundation's annual board meeting. It was a private, high-stakes event. The board, the major donors, key political figures. It was where she was going to be officially promoted to executive director. It was the pinnacle of everything she had worked for, the pinnacle of everything she had lied for. My plan was simple. I would turn her triumph into her execution. With Ben's dossier and a cold surgical precision, I began my preparations. I drafted a single email. I sent it from a blind account to Marcus, Anna, and Councilman David. The subject line, a matter of urgent mutual interest. The body was the same for all three. You have been misled. You are not the only one. Chloe Brennan has been conducting concurrent intimate relationships with you and others for professional gain. Proof will be presented at the Evermore Foundation board meeting this Friday at 9 a.m. in the Evermore conference room. Your attendance is advised. I didn't sign it. They would know who sent it soon enough. Next was the hardest call. Robert, Chloe's father, the founder of the Evermore Foundation. A man of old-school morals and rigid integrity. A man who had welcomed me, the quiet architect, into his family with open arms. He thought his daughter was a saint. His voice was warm when he answered. Leo, to what do I owe the pleasure? Robert, I said, my voice dangerously calm. I need you and Eleanor to be at the board meeting on Friday. It's important. Is everything all right? Is Chloe okay? Chloe is fine, I said, the lie tasting like ash. But her promotion, there are things you need to know, things that affect the foundation's integrity. I have evidence. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I could feel his confusion, his dawning apprehension. Evidence of what, son? Of how she's been networking, I said, putting a vicious emphasis on the word. Please, just be there. He agreed. He was worried, but he agreed. The trap was set. The morning of the board meeting, I put on my best suit, the one I wore to client presentations. I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were hollow, my face a mask of grim resolve. I felt nothing. The pain and anger had been forged into a weapon. I was no longer Leo the husband. I was Leo the demolition expert. I arrived just as the meeting was about to start. The conference room was all glass and polished wood, filled with the most powerful people in the city's philanthropic circle. And there she was, at the head of the table, radiant in a sharp crimson suit, ready to accept her crown. She saw me, and her smile flickered for a microsecond. Confusion. Then it was back, brighter than ever. Leo, what a surprise! Everyone, this is my husband Leo, the brilliant architect I'm always talking about. I didn't smile back. I walked to the front of the room, to the laptop connected to the massive wall-mounted screen. Leo, what are you doing? She asked, a note of strain in her voice. I ignored her. I plugged in the flash drive Ben had prepared for me. I opened the single file on it. The network maintenance calendar bloomed on the giant screen, in all its color-coded, horrifying glory. A collective, sharp intake of breath filled the room. Chloe made a strangled sound. What is this? Leo, this is a private file. You have no right. I turned to face the room. I saw Marcus Thorne's face go pale. I saw Anna, the journalist, drop her pen. I saw Councilman David look like he was about to be sick. And I saw Robert and Eleanor, Chloe's parents, their faces etched in utter shock and devastation. My name is Leo Brennan, I said, my voice echoing in the dead silence. For 12 years, I believed I was married to a woman of principle. I was wrong. You are looking at my wife's real business plan, her network maintenance schedule. I clicked to the next slide. A collage of text messages to Marcus. Still feeling you next to me. Can't wait until you're really mine. Marcus Thorne. Donor. Color, blue. I clicked again. Text to Anna. Discussing her article, then making plans to meet. My place 7? Anna Petrov. Journalist. Color green, another click. The email to David Walsh. I'll make it worth your while. Like last time. Councilman David Walsh. Political influence. Color red. I went through them, methodically, coldly, exposing every lie. every calculated meeting, every mocking reference to me, the oblivious husband. I showed them how their relationships, which they thought were special, were just items on a checklist, how they were being played against each other, how the foundation they supported was being led by a woman who built her career on a bed of lies. The room was in chaos. People were standing up, shouting. Robert had his head in his hands. Eleanor was crying, and Chloe finally broke. She slammed her hands on the table. "You!" The room went quiet again. All eyes were on her. Her face was a twisted mask of fury and panic. "You smug, self-righteous bastard!" she screamed at me, her voice cracking. "You think you're so pure? You with your quiet little drawings and your simple little life? You have no idea what it takes to build something like this, to keep it all going, the pressure, the constant smiling, the constant performing. I had to network. I had to be memorable. I had to make sacrifices you could never even comprehend." There it was, the confession, not of love, not of passion, but of cold, hard ambition. Her sacrifices were our marriage, my trust, the integrity of everyone in that room. She looked at me, her chest heaving. "You destroyed me. You destroyed everything I built." I looked at this stranger, this brilliant, monstrous woman I had loved for over a decade. And I felt nothing but a vast, empty calm. "No, Chloe," I said, my voice quiet but cutting through the tension like a blade. "You didn't build anything. You built it on a fault line, on lies. I just gave it the slightest tap." I turned and walked out of the conference room. I didn't look back. I walked out of the building, out into the cool morning air, and I just breathed. The fallout was swift and brutal. She was fired before lunch. The news broke by the afternoon. Anna, in a desperate attempt to save her own career, broke the story, painting herself as a victim of manipulation. Marcus withdrew his funding. Councilman Walsh resigned in disgrace. The foundation, Robert's life's work, was crippled. Her parents, to their eternal credit, didn't abandon me. Robert called me a week later. His voice was heavy with a grief I couldn't fathom. "She was always so driven," he said. "I never knew it had twisted into that. Eleanor and we're so sorry, Leo. You will always be our son." The divorce was a formality. Her lawyer didn't even fight it. The prenup was ironclad. She moved to the East Coast. I heard she's trying to get into consulting. I don't care. I sold the house. I couldn't live in that museum of my own foolishness. I bought a loft downtown, a raw space with high ceilings and northern light. A blank slate. It's been 8 months. I started my own firm, Brennan Designs. My motto is honest architecture. It's doing well. Last week I was having coffee with Ben. He was looking over the plans for my first big solo project. He raised his cup. "To building things that last," he said. I looked around my new apartment, at the drafting table by the window, at the blueprints for a future I was designing entirely for myself. The anger is gone. The pain is a scar, not a wound. For the first time since I saw that email, since she called me naive, the air in my lungs feels clean. I am finally, truly free.